All right. I think we're live. I think everything's working now. So let me get disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump into it. We got a couple of people here, a couple of comments already or a couple of chats already to respond to. So this is the weekly live broadcast. We do this pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central, unless something comes up, something comes in, if something does come up and I can't make it. I haven't been very good about notifying ahead of time, like when I know something's coming up. But usually I will try to notify you ahead of time if I know. If something comes up where I can't make it, I'll post it in the community section. So if you have your notifications on, you'll know I can't make it probably. Other than that, this is just pretty much I just do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So if you have questions, something you want to talk about, this is a great place to do that. We'll get into it. If I don't know the answer, somebody in the chat probably does. We got a lot of smart people here. A lot of people here that are probably a lot smarter than I am. The only things I ask is you be polite, be family friendly. Don't be hateful with anybody. Don't call anybody names. Don't start cussing anybody. Any of those kinds of things. We can have, we can talk about like controversial topics if you want to. I don't care because I don't believe you should hate somebody just because they have a different opinion than you. I think we can all get along even if we do disagree on things, even controversial things. So that's my opinion. That's the way I feel about it. So let's jump into it. We've got Catherine Fuller here from Arizona says hello. Hello to you too. And Sharon Hoffman from, it says John. The name, the username says Sharon Hoffman, but the comment says John from Northern Ohio. Good to see you. Thank you. I'm probably going to call you Sharon because I'm going to forget that is John, actually. So don't be offended by that. Dawn says, hello, everybody. I'll be back in a few. Got headsets on. Well, thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Go ahead and take care of whatever you need to take care of. It's all good. All right, we got 17 people in here. Need some chat to respond to. We've only got three chats so far. And, I never have anything planned out to talk about. So let's see what's going on. Jimbo Slice. There we go. Boy, that's hard to read. It's like words all run together. But anyway, Jimbo Slice says, how's it going, Chris? Well, not too bad. Doing pretty well. I'm almost over this pinched nerve thing in my neck, I think. I still have periodically a little bit of numbness in my hand and a little bit of hurting, down my arm like this. So if you see me doing this kind of stuff, it's probably I'm trying to find a position where it doesn't hurt. Right now, it's not bothering me, but we'll see if it continues that way. But other than that, everything's going pretty well. Buck Reynolds says, hello, everyone from Claremore, Oklahoma. Hope you are feeling better. Yeah, I haven't actually been feeling all that bad, so I guess I'm feeling better. Like I'm just about over the whole neck, pinched nerve thing in my neck that I was dealing with. So that's good. It's much better than it was, so that is good. We got Dewdrop 6400 from Western New York. Says hello. Hello to you too. Thank you for joining us tonight. I will tell you something that's kind of funny though. So I had a heart doctor appointment scheduled for this week or last week. I can't remember. They called me and asked me or told me they'd have to reschedule it because they had some kind of pacemaker thing going on that day. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. So they were asking me if everything's okay. I said, yeah, I just got this one problem with my, it's a heart doctor. They can't do anything about it. But I figured I'd tell them anyway. I said, I just got this one problem right now where I've got a pinched nerve in my neck. It's kind of hurting my back and down my arm. And you tell somebody that your arm hurt, you tell your heart doctor that your arm is hurting, they kind of start to panic a little bit. So you're probably not the best thing to tell them. She was like, well, are you experiencing chest pains or anything? I'm no, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's down the back of my arm. It's pinched nerve stuff. It's okay. But anyway, they kind of panicked. We got Jeremiah Jimenez. There we go. Jeremiah Jimenez. Everything was shifting because people are chatting. Says, what's up from Winnie, Texas? I don't know where Winnie, Texas is. Never heard of that before, but hello to you. Thank you for joining us tonight, too. I appreciate it. Tony with the hard last name I can't ever get right says, hey, from Toronto. Good to see you, too. Thank you for joining. We've got Cobra Kills from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Says, it's been a while since I joined. Well, thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Jimbo says, let's see. Was going to ask you to stop breeding. I was going to ask, do you stop breeding rabbits over winter? I stopped breeding a few months ago, losing a litter from the cold weather. Really? I I'm not sure where you're located, how cold it was. I breed primarily during the winter. I don't like to breed in the heat of summer. It gets pretty hot here. 95, 100 degrees. You're in Ohio. It hasn't been that cold in Ohio, has it? A few months ago? A few months ago, it shouldn't have been cold at all, I wouldn't think. But no, I breed primarily in the wintertime. I find that I have much better success. I also don't like, I feel so sorry for the rabbits in the summertime. They got big fur coats on and it's so hot. I don't want to put them through that in the summertime. So yeah, I breed in the wintertime. I'm guessing now, even in the summer though, honestly, if your rabbit does not have the babies in the nest box, if you don't get them in the nest box pretty quick, if she doesn't, then yeah, they're probably not going to make it because they don't really do very well out in the elements. They need to be in the nest box. Now, I've had baby rabbits born in very cold temperatures. The only time I lost any due to cold temperatures, it was -1 degrees Fahrenheit, not wind chill, the actual temperature when they were born, and that's when I lost them. But other than that, I never have any issues. They all do fine as long as they're born in the nest box or I get them in the nest box as quick as possible. Let's see. Annie Mills, I think it is. Annie Mills says, let's see. Quail, do you put ACV in the water? And if so, how much? Thank you. I don't bother with it now. There was several years ago, there was a big craze about apple cider vinegar and people said it cured everything. It's not a magical cure for things. It is good for you if you're using true apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. It's got probiotics in it. That's the lactobacillus bacteria, the same stuff that's in yogurt and sauerkraut. Not canned sauerkraut. That's been pressure canned, and all that stuff's dead in there. But anyhow, you get what I'm saying. Kimchi, that same kind of stuff that's in all that, and it's good for you. But it's not magical in any way. I don't bother putting it in the water for quail, rabbits, any of that kind of stuff. It's just not. It doesn't really do much for them. So. JCGC, whatever. I'm just gonna call you JC because it's a long name. It says, "Good evening, Chris. Or did you get any deer yet?" I did not. So no, I have not. In fact, I went out last weekend, Saturday morning and afternoon. And morning, I saw one little spike buck. He wasn't very big at all. He came in. I mean, stood right in front of my stand. I mean, I could have taken him, no problem. But that was it, Saturday morning. And then Saturday evening, well, let's see, was that it, Saturday morning? Well, no. I'm sorry. Saturday morning, I didn't have anything come in front of the stand. When I got in the stand, I hadn't been there but just a minute, and I saw a doe walking through the woods just barely. It was still pretty dark out at that point in the morning. And then it was a little bit later than that, probably 9 o'clock in the morning, about 9 o'clock. I just kind of happened to look over and saw a deer, I don't know, maybe through the trees. It was hard to see, but I could see it. And, it was one of those things where you had to look at it. Yeah, that is a deer. It was bedded down, a little buck bedded down over there, little spike buck. And it was probably 100 yards away, maybe not quite. But I couldn't see him real well through the trees. I don't know how he got there because, I think I would have seen him if he'd have been there very long. I didn't see him come in. I just saw him laying there. He laid there for about an hour. Then he got up and walked off through the woods. And that was all I saw Saturday morning. Saturday evening, I didn't see a single deer sitting at the edge of a field. And then Sunday morning, I had that little spike walk in front of me. I didn't hunt Sunday evening because I got to work Monday morning, and the deer just have not been moving real well where I'm hunting. I'm not seeing hardly anything on the trail cams right now. I think, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get out again this weekend because it's the last weekend of rifle. And we only get a 10-day rifle season, so it's not very long. Yeah, okay. So JC says, yeah, JCG is my initials. My name is Jimmy. Okay. I won't remember Jimmy. I'll try, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. Let's see. Jimbo says, yeah, talking about the litter you lost, she wouldn't keep them in the nest box. Yeah, I wouldn't blame that on the cold. Was she a first-time mom, maybe? You said she wouldn't keep them in the nest box. Rabbits don't really pick their babies up and carry them around or anything like that. I don't think they have the ability to do that at all. They just, more than likely what happens if they get out of the nest box is they've either weren't wiggled their way out of the nest box, or they were nursing and she jumped out and they just happened to be holding on and got drug out with them as she did, or something like that. I don't know what kind of nest box you're using. If you have a pretty high end on it, that could kind of help a little bit. It may be too shallow. Maybe they can wiggle out of it or something. I don't know. But that's probably not the cold weather doing that. That's just bad luck, unfortunately. And if she's a first-time mom, chances are it'll go way better next time. Let's see. Andy says, "Hey everybody, don't forget to hit the like button." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we got 26 people here. We got 8 likes. Not bad. Martimar, is that it? Martimar says, "Good evening, Chris. I put my first batch of quail eggs in the incubator Tuesday. 15 or so days. Hopefully have a good hatch." Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well, and I'm sure it will. Let's see. Dawn says, "Lost one of my wedding bands last week. I cleaned quail cages and other things. Hubby took his metal detector and pinpointer over the whole house and found it yesterday." Awesome. I was going to say, you need somebody with a metal detector out there to look for it. Gold is very hard to find with a metal detector, believe it or not, because it rings up the same as like pull tabs and just aluminum and all those low value metals trash basically. So like if you're detecting like in a park or something like that, it's like you just get tired of digging all that stuff up and you never find gold because of that. Because that stuff's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's so incredibly hard to find gold. Let's see. Jeremiah says, let's see. That's Jeremiah Jimenez. There we go. Says, "My rabbits are both 6 months old. When do you think they should start breeding?" Well, the general rule of thumb on that is that you want to wait till they're at least 6 months old and about 80% of what their adult weight's going to be. So, assuming these would be like New Zealand whites, they should be somewhere around 10 pounds full grown. You want to wait till they're at least 6 months old and about 8 pounds or more. So hopefully that kind of gives you what you're looking for there. So anytime really, assuming they've hit the weight, try to get them bred before, especially the doe, before she's a year old. And the doe's really the one that you got to wait on getting to weight. The buck's not as important, but the doe, you want to let her get at least 80% of her adult weight. EUC Josh, I don't know if that's EUC Josh or I don't know how else you would pronounce that. So anyway, I just added some 2-week-old chicks into my adults, and the rooster bit them on the head and back and threw them in the air and mated them for 2 minutes. Then calmed and chill. Is this normal? I wouldn't say that's normal. I throw 2-week-old birds in with my sorry, I got distracted. I throw 2-week-old birds in with mine all the time, and I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. But if you calm down and chilled out, then I guess you're okay. I don't know. That's odd for sure. Let's see. Dawn says, in a 55, found the ring. That's what we're talking about. In a 55-gallon trash bag of quail poop. I guess it fell off in the cage and then went down into the manure tray. Oh, that's not fun. I don't know why this reminded me of that, but I do have a kind of a funny story. When I was younger, I had a buddy that he had a roommate, and he was, I can't remember what he was doing. Anyway, he got this dog. It was a young lab, and it ended up swallowing his buddy's pocket knife. And his buddy was looking for it all over the place. He didn't tell him that the dog swallowed it. Well, the dog, went out to relieve himself and relieve the pocket knife in the process. So my buddy picked it up and rinsed it off real quick and put it back where it was going, and said that his roommate there found the pocket knife, and the next thing he knows, he's up there peeling an apple, eating this apple with this pocket knife. I don't know why that made me think of that, but it's kind of a funny story. He never told him either. Let's see. JC says, JC is perfectly fine with me. Yeah, as far as the spike, maybe that is setting you up for a bigger one. Mistake or not, you let him go to maybe that will turn your luck around. Yeah, maybe, hopefully. Let's hope. I'm not all about like trophy hunting or anything like that, but I don't want to shoot like young deer like that. I want to give them time, especially, we don't have a ton of deer out there. We have deer. We were seeing a lot of activity like the last last 2 weeks of October, really about the very end of October, first week in November, it started kind of really slowing down. But there were a lot of some pretty decent bucks, coming around the last 2 weeks of October. But they've either moved on or are in parts of the woods that we're not hunting. I kind of honestly think, hopefully my cousin's not watching this because he might get upset with me if he did, but I kind of honestly think he's my cousin and I both hunt this property together. It's his stepdad's property, my uncle's property. He lets us hunt it. So anyway, he doesn't work right now, so he's got all the time in the world. He's been out there hunting just almost every single day, I think. So let's see. Hopefully that's not him texting me. No, that's not him. So anyway, I think a lot of it's because he's been out there so much. I think that maybe he's kind of spooked the deer off, but who knows? Don says, let's see, I have 62 eggs in the incubator, day 10 yesterday. Power went out 3 times for no reason. Eggs went from 99.8 down to 98 something. So they may be toast. I think they're going to be fine. I wouldn't really stress about that too much. As long as it's not prolonged periods, I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. I mean, when a hen incubates eggs, they get up off of them periodically for whatever reason. I think you're going to be okay. Don says, we're working on bringing in a lawnmower battery inside for winter incubations now. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. Get an inverter and a battery that you can keep powered up so you can just plug into the inverter when power goes out or something. That's not a terrible idea. Jeremiah says that's crazy work, poop knife. LOL. Yeah. All right. Roy says, hey, new to the channel, started back keeping chickens in the spring and recently added quail. Enjoy your videos on the quail. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to apologize now because I haven't been putting out as many videos as I used to because, well, honestly, I just have a hard time coming up with content every week. I don't know what to talk about. You guys gave me some ideas. I've got them written down here. I just need to do that. I just need to get on it and do it. I know it's tough. I'm going through a slow spell with videos, I guess. Hopefully I'll be able to pick it back up pretty soon. All right, we're at the end of our chat so far. Oh my goodness. Let's see what time it was. 7:18. We got plenty of time left. I do have live chat turned on, not just top chat, so I shouldn't be missing any. Hopefully, we'll see it pick up a little bit. So I don't have anything to share. I don't have any good stories. Nothing exciting happened this week. So I guess just sit here in awkward silence until something comes through. Let's see. Jimbo says, do you use multiple incubators when hatching? We have 6 different breeds and different hatching times. I don't use multiple incubators. I have 2 incubators, but I don't bother using multiple incubators. I just incubate and hatch all in the same incubator whenever I do it. If you have things hatching out at different times, that would make sense to have multiple incubators. Jeremiah says, what's a good way to keep rabbits warm in the winter? You don't really need to worry about that. Where are you located, Jeremiah? You may have already told me that. Are you in Ohio or? I can't remember. I don't know how cold it gets there for you, but you don't really need to worry about keeping them warm. Just keep them out of the wind. Give them some kind of way to get out of the wind. And that's it. That's really all you need to do. They've got big fur coats on. They're well adapted for cold weather. They handle wintertime better than summertime. The biggest thing I have to worry about in the winter is making sure they have water. I have to, I use the rubber bowls, fill them about, yay high with water. They're about that tall, maybe halfway, not quite halfway with water in the morning. They'll go in and get a drink. And then if it freezes over in the evening, I go out in the afternoon. When I get home from work, early evening, put some more water on top of that. They'll go get as much as they want to drink there. Next morning, I can just throw that on the ground, stomp it, and knock the ice out of it and start all over again. That's the hardest part about winter, but they do pretty well. You're in Texas, huh? So, yeah, you don't need to worry about it at all. It's like, what's the coldest it gets there in Texas? Probably like 30 degrees at the coldest, and that's rare. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it at all. Give them a way to get out of the wind. That's all you need to do. Zohar says, missed my Caternix comment. Anything I should try? What did I miss on your Caternix comment? Where was it? Am I missing some comments after all? I don't see another comment from you. I don't know what you're asking. I'm sorry. Ask again. I'll get it answered for you. I'm sorry. I missed it. If I did, don't know. Dawn says, I'm searching for a good 20-ounce mug to make to take coffee outside with me. Any ideas? I don't drink coffee, so I don't know that I would be good at answering that. But a 20-ounce mug, I don't know right offhand. I don't. Let's see. I use one of those Walmart. What is it? Ozark Trail tumbler things, but I don't put hot beverages in it. I drink soda and that stuff. I keep it cold, but I'm not a coffee drinker. Occasionally I'll have like a cup of hot chocolate or something, but I don't ever carry that around with me. So I don't know of a good 20-ounce. You probably want something that's insulated, maybe something with a lid on it, right? So you don't spill the stuff everywhere, but I don't really know. So Pickard, I guess it is, says, a riddle, what's invisible and smells like lettuce? I don't know. JC says, my wife has a favorite quail. Molly is one with a big personality and always gives me an attitude. Yeah, that's probably why it's your wife's favorite, right? That makes sense. Clearwater Finches says, hey all, I finally remembered to tune in to a live on Thursday evening. Well, thank you for making it back. We appreciate that. Sharon says, my doe will only breed with the same buck. Try a different buck and she won't breed. Any idea why? That's interesting. I don't know that I've ever had a doe that was that picky, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she just feels bonded with him for some reason. I don't know, honestly. I've never had that issue. Maybe somebody else has and they can speak to it. JC says, Chris, my first question was, have you ever had a favorite quail? I don't know that I've ever considered one of my favorite. In fact, I have a hard time. I mean, I raised jumbo pharaohs, so they all look the same. I mean, I don't know that I can tell them apart. Jimbo says, Don, you should go with a Yeti, best one on the market. So, I mean, maybe they're so expensive though, and honestly, you can get the knockoffs like Stanley does. I mean, Stanley thermoses are the best. I mean, they're fantastic. They keep things warm forever. So I mean, I know they make those Stanley cups. Those would probably be pretty good. I don't know how much they cost. But the Ozark Trails knockoff 20-ounce tumbler is basically the same thing as a Yeti 20-ounce tumbler for like it's like $10, compared to the Yetis. So I'm sure the Yetis are great, but you can get away with cheaper things, I think, that work just as well. Pickard says, okay, the answer to your question, invisible smells like lettuce is rabbit farts. I kind of doubt that, honestly, but that was a good one. Dawn says, I used to be an Ozark Trail junkie until they made it so you can't get new lids with the rubber when the rubber starts flaking off into your drink. I've never had that problem with the rubber flaking off into my drink. But interesting. Yeah, I wish they did sell lids though, separately. You used to be able to get them that way. You might still be able to on Amazon. I don't know. Let's see. Clearwater Finches says, I usually name my favorite quail, and they never end up on my plate. Yeah, if you name your food, you probably don't want to put it on your plate, do you? Jeremiah says, should get you a Magellan tumbler. Works like a dream. Cheap and stays hot. I work 10 to 12 hours a day and never had an issue. There you go. There's a good suggestion as well. Magellan, that's the Academy brand, right? And let's see. JC says, my Ozark Trail mugs like to get moldy, and now you can't take them apart like they used to. Oh, interesting. I've I've had a few problems with mold in the rubber seal, but I just take it apart. I know you're not supposed to put them in the dishwasher. I do. I stick it in the dishwasher. I take the rubber seal off the lid that goes in like the little silverware drawer, or thing that holds silverware in the dishwasher, put the plastic in the top shelf, the lid, and run it through the dishwasher. And that seems to have solved any kind of mold problems I had. You know, that mold, they say that black mold that forms on there, that's not really harmful for you. It's not going to cause any problems. But still, it is a little bit uneasy, isn't it? I get that on my watch too, just from the moisture, I think, on my skin. Let's see. Don says, you haven't looked to see black specks in your drink. I'm looking at them now. Chris, we replace the rubber rings once a year. Yeah, maybe I just haven't noticed them. I don't know. Jimbo Slice says, have you had to deal with any feather pecking? A few of my girl has some bald spots. I don't know that I've ever really had. I don't know that I've really ever really had issues with feather picking. Bald spots, a lot of the times that can be from, depending on where the bald spots are. If it's the back of their head, that area, you probably already know that's probably breeding behavior. The roosters grab those feathers back there while they're breeding, and they'll pluck them out. Also, maybe look at what protein level you have in your feed. If it may be okay, but if it's like below 20%, that can lead to feather plucking as well. When they're really low on protein, they kind of sometimes will go after feathers because feathers have pretty high amounts of protein in them, or they could be molting. I've got some birds that looked like they were starting to molt. A lot of extra feathers in the cage. That's pretty common for me. I think whenever we just change seasons, it's like whenever we go into fall, they tend to want to molt, and whenever we go into spring, they tend to want to molt. Jimbo Slice, have you ever had to deal with any feather? Oh, we already talked about that. No, I don't think I've ever had that issue. Don says, I'll check that out. Never heard of Magellan. Yeah, Magellan is, yeah, that's the Academy Sporting Goods brand. Jeremiah says, a little mold never hurt, LOL. Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of mold it is, right? I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of mold out there. Some of them are pretty bad. Pickard says, hit the like button or hit the thumbs up button. John Collinsgrove, is that it? Yes, he says, if you have a bunch of different color variations of quail and you keep them together, are they just going to slowly turn back to wild colors? It kind of depends, probably, on like what color variations you got. And I don't know. I couldn't tell you based on even if you told me what color variations you got. But yeah, eventually you're going to get them probably all back to just a wild breed, because those are all mutations. Those color variations are mutations. And if you just have them all breeding together, that you're probably going to lose that mutation. You would have to breed them to each other to keep that mutation. They're probably not dominant trait, if that makes sense. Oh, let's see. Zart says, I would like to improve my adult Coternic size. Recommended source for bigger birds. Well, I don't know who has the biggest birds at all. I mean, I like my Shire as my supplier. Do your best to keep, whenever you're breeding, make sure your biggest birds are your breeders. Call pretty hard on the ones that are smaller. That's about the only suggestions I have, honestly. Dawn says, I have one hen and one root together, and they do fine, but she kept dumping their nest box on top of the roux and standing on it so he couldn't mate her. I take it out, and she jumps on his back, too. Interesting. Says, hold him down. She holds him down so he can't mate her. Cracks me up. Andy told me to cut a door in the nest box, and now he can't be kept under it at night. LOL. Yeah, that is funny. A nest box I don't even use, so I don't know. But yeah, if you've got one bird, one hen, one rooster, she's probably going to get overbred. So I'm sure she's getting sick of that probably. Jimbo says, ordered some snowflake bob whites in California's coming in the spring. I need to get building my outdoor runs. Well, nice. Good. Hopefully that goes well. So with bob whites, I'm assuming with California's too, I think you would need a permit. Not terribly difficult to get. But you do need a permit from like your conservation department, DNR, whatever it is there, because those are native birds. Jeremiah wants to know, have you ever kept honeybees? I have not. I've toyed with the idea, but I've never done it. Don says, I like H.P. Murray, Gopher Ridge for jumbos, and Judd Quail. Both are excellent jumbos. There you go. There's a couple of suggestions for you. Clearwater Finches says, just got a batch of jumbo hatching eggs from Judd's Quails. They turned out nice, 6 weeks old, and today they are much bigger than my standards already and gave me my first eggs. Well, nice. That's great. Clearwater Fincher says, I have ordered mixed colors and celadons from my shire and have always been very pleased with them. Yeah, I like my shire. Of course, I'm a friend with Zach. I mean, he's a good friend of mine. So, that's I may be a little bit biased that way. But I've always had good results with his eggs. So I don't have any others to be able to do a comparison with. And that's the end of the chat again. Slow down. Sorry, I know I put this on you guys, but I should have something planned out, shouldn't I? Don says, I have 2 cages with 1 hen and 1 rooster. They do fine and look much better than the cage with an even 5-1. Really? That's interesting. Anytime I've gotten below 5-1, all my hens are bald. I mean, just completely on the back of their head every single time. Andy Rabbit says, anyone heard from Zach lately? If so, what's happening in his neck of the woods? I haven't talked to him in a little while. It's been a couple of months, but everything seemed to be going well the last time I talked to him. And Jimbo says, are they having QuailCon next year? Not sure yet. JCG says, you are missing comments. Really? I've got live chat turned on. I should be getting all of the comments. I just clicked it again just to make sure. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. It's not intentional. Let's see. Clearwater Finches says, I have a really mean hen in with 2 roosters, and she's doing well, actually. Yeah, a lot of the times when you get like aggression in your birds, it's the hens, not the roosters that are that aggressive. So I believe that. A really aggressive, mean hen. It makes sense. All right, where are we at here on time? 7:33. We got almost half an hour left. JCG says, no worries, but that may explain why the chat is slowing down. That may actually be it. YouTube's a little crazy. Like I said, I've got 3 options for my chat. I can do fan funding, which means I only get super chats, super stickers, channel memberships, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I can do chop top chat. It says some messages such as potential spam may not be visible, or I can do live chat where all messages are visible. And I've got it turned on to live chat, so I should be getting everything. But anyhow, let's see. Don says my 5-1 has totally bald hens. Interesting. I've never actually had that issue with mine. Clearwater Finches says, Don, I'm very happy with the jumbos from him. Not so happy with the mixed batch I got from him. Very low hatch rate. Clearwater Finches says, could totally be time of year plus shipped eggs, yada, yada, yada. That accounted for the low hatch rate. Could be. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into that, of course. Let's see. Don says to Clearwater Finches, I got only jumbo browns from him and don't do mutt party boxes. I have some exciting ones coming from H.P. Murray. Good luck. Hopefully those will all hatch out well. Jimbo wants to know, how many birds do I have right now? I've got about 15, I think, right now. Not very many. I pare down quite a bit for wintertime. I don't keep a lot. Just enough to get me going again in the spring, really. Andy Rabbit says, did anyone go to the Gulf Quail Con? Not sure of its real name. Gulf Coast Quail Convention or something like that, I think. I can't remember exactly. I did not go. I'd be curious if anybody did, how they liked. I know there were several people there. I mean, lots of people. I just don't know how many and who specifically went. And then Clearwater Finches says, did they have that this year? Yeah, that was that's a different convention altogether. It's not QuailCon. It's Gulf Coast Quail. I can't remember what it was called exactly. Down in Louisiana, put on by Aaron Guidros. and somebody else. I can't remember who he partnered with on that. Andy Rabbit says, I didn't get to go. Yeah, I didn't either. It's a little bit of a drive for me, but I didn't make it. Clearwater says, oh, dang, I'm on the Gulf Coast and didn't hear about it. Yeah, that was back in, well, it would have been the same weekend that QuailCon usually runs, right? It was like Labor Day weekend, I think. Sometime around in there. Yeah, Labor Day weekend. JCG says, I got some from my shire, not bad, but they didn't hatch out to be the biggest. Maybe it was a fluke, but I'm trying to get my breeders up to size. I had to add another line of jumbo in my line. Interesting. Yeah, I've had pretty good results with those, but it varies. Don says couldn't pay me to go to the knockoff QuailCon. I worked a year to get physically able to go to QuailCon, and a bummer. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry I didn't go this year. I don't know if he's planning on holding it next year or not. I just don't know yet. Clearwater Finches says hurricane season. I don't stray far from home that time of year. Yeah, yeah. We that live up here in the away from the Gulf, and the shore or the coasts, we don't really think too much about hurricanes. It just doesn't hit us. Zora says last hatch of 160 chicks to replace some of my current all got sold because of word of mouth. Well, that's not terrible, is it? That's pretty decent. I mean, you sold them all anyway. That's not bad. Hopefully I'm coming through loud enough. I realize I'm leaning way back from the microphone. Hopefully it's picking things up well enough you guys can hear okay. Let's see. Wannabe Homesteading says, I'm in my third year with Californias. Bred a father to a daughter. Can I breed a buck from that litter with the doe, the mother? That would be mother to son, but they both have the same father. I mean, you can. You can do it. I mean, that's a little close to the gene pool for my liking. But yes, you can absolutely do it. Clearwater Fincher says, we can hear you fine. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. And glad to hear it. Good. I tend to talk pretty loud. I try to project, so hopefully it's making up for it. Clearwater Finches says, I have 90 eggs cooking in the hopefully hatching over Thanksgiving. Good luck. Hopefully that hatches out well. Oh, that reminds me. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving, isn't it? I won't be here next Thursday. I just now hit me. See, I was just talking about how I'm not very good about letting you guys know when I won't be here. You probably figured that out, though. I can't imagine a lot of you guys would show up for a Thanksgiving Day live broadcast, would you? JCG says, my Shire were in the 8, so I bought some random eggs to hatch off eBay. A few came out 10s, so I started breeding my Shire out, only keeping 9s and above, and next year, hopefully, all 10s. Yeah, well, I don't know, what you mean by 8, 9, 10. Is that just your rating scale, or is that like the weight, 8 ounce, 10 ounce, 9 ounce, something? I don't know. But anyway, hopefully so. Clearwater Finches says we won't be here either. LOL. Yeah, I better go spend some time with the weight. That's what I'm wondering too. Yeah, the weight. I thought that might be it. Zora says, lady a ways from me had some beautiful tamucks. Rough idea, fair price, 3 does and a buck. That varies so drastically from, I mean, there's so many factors go into that. If they're pedigrees, if they're not, if they're, part of the country they're in, all that kind of stuff. Around here, you're hard pressed to sell a rabbit for much more than about $30, $35. Purebred, pedigree tamucks might go for 40 each. But again, don't take that. I mean, that's just what it is here. Don says, no, I won't be here for Thanksgiving. LOL. I don't blame you. Clearwater says, I'm looking forward to weighing this new batch out of 10 weeks. They're already bigger than my standards at 6 weeks. Yeah, they should be. I mean, jumbos are significantly bigger. Buck Reynolds says if you're breeding the son to his mother, you better like the genetics. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, breeding a offspring back to their parent is that's inline breeding. That's pretty common practice. What she was saying is she bred a doe back to its father, and from that litter wants to know if she can breed the buck back to the mother. So I mean, I guess yeah, technically it's still inline breeding, and it's okay to do that. But you're right, Buck. You better like the genetics, because what that's going to do is, um, and Andy Rabbit's on the right track too. Breed what looks good together, and keep the best, eat the rest. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, you're going to accentuate the good traits, but you're also going to accentuate any bad traits that they have too. And then Clearwater Finches says, how about breeding siblings? I have a bunch of dotted whites that I'm sure are out of the same hen. Yeah, okay. So we're talking rabbits versus quail, right? Yeah. So you're talking about siblings in quail. Yeah, I don't even know if you how you would know that for sure. You don't need to worry about it too much with quail. That's not really an issue. Rabbits is a little different. Andy Rabbit says some of the best show rabbits come from close family breedings. That's true. Clearwater Finches says, "Oh, I'm sorry, LO. No need to be sorry. I just want to make sure we're clarifying some things. Inbreeding with quail is not really a big issue at all. I mean, you can go multiple generations before you'd ever run into any issue. And if you had some new bloodlines in every great once in a while, just a new rooster or something, you're going to be fine. You're not going to have to worry about it. But rabbits are a little bit different. So we got a little over 15 minutes left. Zora says, went to see a fellow that had jumbo and regular quail. The standard quail laid huge eggs that were exactly the same size as the jumbos. Had no idea. Interesting. Yeah, I remember I've had standards before. It's been a long time. I mean, once when the jumbos hit the scene, that's kind of what I switched over to, and that's what I've had ever since. But the standard quail, their eggs were much smaller. So that's interesting. JCG says, once I get a line of tins developed, I will be happy. I have some almost ready for freezer camp at 10 weeks. I am going to weigh them, but I am doubtful I have many tins in that batch, but we'll keep the 10. Pretty much. Clearwater Finches says, ouch, in response to the standard birds laying the jumbo size eggs. Yeah, I always think that too when I get like a big double yolk egg. I always think that poor bird. Doesn't seem to bother him, but boy, you would think it would. And be like, I don't know if I'm missing chats, but it is slowing down again. Hopefully, I'm not. Clearwater thinks it does bother them, huh? You think those double yolk eggs bother them? It's got to, right? I mean, that's a huge egg for that little bitty bird. Zora says, I have one quail that lays a tiny no yolk egg every day. How do you know it's the same bird, right? I mean, same bird laying this, but it might be. Who knows? That could be some kind of issue. I get those every once in a while, especially like when the birds first start laying or whenever they take a break and then start laying again. That's when I usually get those, but it's not very often. Andy Rabbit says, I do not keep jumbos because I don't see much difference in them. I noticed a pretty significant difference between the jumbos and the standards. When I had standards, they were, I mean, like almost half the size, it seems like. JCG says, when my chickens first started laying, all I got was double yolks. I missed them. It was like finding a surprise upgrade. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. If you're eating those eggs, I mean, that double yolk's not a bad thing, is it? Um, Don says, I saw a huge difference between jumbos and standards if you get true jumbos. I agree. Zora says, not sure the same bird, been same size for 3 months, size of one's fingernail. Yeah, those little, what they call fairy eggs. Yeah, I get those from time to time, but it's again, it's most common when they first start laying or take a break and then start laying again. That's when you would. That's when I usually see them the most. Same thing with double yolk, you know, eggs. I mean, I get those from time to time too, but most common look when they first start laying. It seems like. Andy Rabbit says, "I don't think I have regular standards. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say." Don says, "To me, a standard isn't worth the effort to butcher." I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah, like I said, once jumbos hit the market, I mean, it's been a while. There weren't. I mean, that was. I remember when they first came out with jumbos, and I was kind of one of those like, yeah, whatever, I'll believe it when I see it. But it was true, and I never looked back. JCG says I felt like my were standard, but they are breeding to jumbo. Well, sometimes I still get like an overly small bird out of my hatch. Clearwater Finches says I've been keeping busy building 2 additional quail pens. I like to keep my different colors separate, and now it'll allow me to use my enclosed quail shed for grow outs, stocking up for spring. Nice. Yeah, if I was keeping different colors, then I would have separate hutches for them and keep them separate. Don says maybe he's talking about a button quail. LOL. Yeah, for that, yeah, maybe. Andy Rabbit says my Celadon eggs are about the same size as a jumbo egg. So are your Celadon standard size or jumbo birds? Because Celadons can be, I mean, Celadon is just the gene that makes them lay that kind of blue-green egg. They can be in any kind of quail, really. Jumbo, standard, I mean, all different colors, all that. Zora says, think I would be better off hatching a bunch and choosing or try ordering eggs. It's hard to say. You're talking about wanting to get bigger birds. You want to know if it's better off to order some eggs or hatching a whole bunch of birds out and trying to keep the bigger ones. I mean, it's going to be the 6 one, half dozen the other. Even if you order eggs, you're going to end up with, you're going to still have to manage the biggest ones as your breeders, because otherwise if you're not really paying attention to that, you eventually will breed them down in size a little bit. Clearwater Finches says, I find my standards will produce larger eggs the older they get. Yeah, that makes sense. Andy says the standards were not sold as jumbo, but they feel huge when I hold them in my hands. Well, they may be jumbos. Anymore, it's like I don't know that anybody sells very many standard birds because jumbos have pretty much taken over everything. So they may not be specifically labeling them as jumbos. JCG says, I'm pretty sure they must have had a jumbo line, or I doubt they would breed jumbo size. Maybe it was when my shire was switching their breeders out, but that's just a guess why they were smaller. Could be. Clearwater Finches says, I have some huge Celadons as well from my shire. The dotted whites are my largest. And Andy Rabbit says these are still the first hatch from Southwest Game Birds, hatched in December of 2022. Yeah, so who says you have to get rid of your birds when they're, by the time they're a year old, right? So you've got birds still laying, still doing well, 3 years old, right? Yeah. Now, if you're running a business where your primary, you're shipping out a ton of eggs as hatching eggs, and that's your primary business, and you're making a living off of it. Yeah, you do want to be a little bit pickier about it, and you do want to make sure you're switching out your breeders, every 6 months or so, probably. But for home use, there's no reason you don't need to. You can keep them for a long time. They'll continue to lay. You got birds laying 3 years old. Don says 10 ounce at 10 weeks is not my kind of jumbo. 14 to 16 ounce at 8 weeks is my go-to real jumbos. Yeah, I haven't weighed mine in a long time, but I think that that's probably about the size of mine too. Andy Rabbit says I hatched from them this last spring. So yeah, he hatched some birds out from 3-year-old birds. So well, 2.5-year-old birds, I guess. Yeah, I remember talking about that. I remember when that happened, when you did that. Got about 9 minutes left, so get your chats in if you want to get them responded to. Zora says my Shire Farms website says Jumbo Wild's out of stock. Yeah, they're probably. I mean, that's going to be your hardest to get. That's the highest demand. So keep watching. They'll come back in stock at some point. So let's see. I've got my silver fox has been bred. So we're looking at that was about 2 weeks ago, I believe. So another couple of weeks, we should have some baby rabbits again, hopefully. Clearwater Finches says, "Give me 2 weeks and I'll send you some." I don't know who you're talking to or what exactly we're talking about. You're going to send, but cool. And then Clearwater Finches says, or check out Judd's at Zoart, huh? At symbol Zoart. I don't. Oh, talking to Zoart. Check out Judd's. That's who you're talking to. You're going to send him some Jumbo Wilds in 2 weeks, or he can check out Judd's Quail. There you go. I'm with you now. I'm following. Andy Rabbit says, I ordered 10 different colors this time. I'm getting the quail house finished within a few weeks, I guess. Yeah, you're going to have to, aren't you? Good time to be working outside. We got this kind of unseasonably warm temperatures going right now. It's probably another issue with the deer hunting. It was almost 80 degrees on Saturday when I was hunting, and that's just not. I mean, I had mosquitoes buzzing in my ear, and it just doesn't happen during rifle season ever. The Bam Life says it's Thanksgiving next week. Are you going to be live, or are you enjoying the holiday with your family? I will not be here next week. I'll be with family for Thanksgiving. Zora says, "Thank you, Judd's looks good." There you go. I told you. If I don't know the answer, somebody in the chat usually does. Don says Judd puts his quail on the scales so you can see they are true jumbos, great birds. Can't beat them. I haven't really seen anything with Judd's quail. I'm not familiar with them. Yeah, look at that. There's a whole line of them. Jumbo brown hatching eggs. Just take a look real quick. $36 for how many do you get? $36 is where it starts. I don't know how many eggs that is, though. Is that 18 for 36? Yeah, 18 eggs for $36. Keone says, it was Keone Walaka, I think it is, says, Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Clearwater Finches says he's somewhat new to the game, year or two, and he's doing well. Well, good. Hope he continues to do well. Andy Rabbit says 3 or 4 weeks in the brooder. I'm not sure what that was a response to. I wasn't following. See, the Bam Life says that's awesome. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. You too. Don says, I hope you get it done, Andy. I will keep your bird. It will keep your birds safe. Zora says 72 eggs, $75. Really? 72 eggs is $75? For jumbo brown hatching? Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. That's your best deal. 72 eggs, $75. Uh, and Dawn says Chrissy does lots of Facebook videos. I'll have to check him out. And the price includes shipping. Really, that's not bad. Andy Rabbit says, I'll get it done. Talking about the quail shed, right? Got all the garden stuff out there now, so it's open to quail now. Yeah, once hunting season's over, I'll probably get some garden work done, getting it prepared for next season. I'm debating on I may be changing a little bit up in my garden this year. Well, we'll share all that in video whenever it comes time. It was strange taking a year off gardening. That's the first year I've taken off in a long time. It's kind of nice. Didn't have anything to do, but it's kind of bad too. I didn't have any fresh tomatoes. Didn't I mean there was a lot of stuff I kind of missed, but hopefully that makes a difference. Hopefully the garden does better this year. Don says the more you buy, the cheaper he is. I bought 72 eggs a couple of times, sold off what I didn't want. Yeah, that's the way to do it, I guess. How are we doing? 3 minutes left. Almost going to wrap this one up. I hope everybody does have a great Thanksgiving next week. Those of you guys that are in the United States, even if you're not, I mean, hopefully you have a good Thanksgiving too, but I don't know. I don't think anybody else celebrates it except for us. That's a purely American holiday, I believe. Clearwater says, let's see. I didn't think of that. I just filled my second incubator with some of my own eggs, LOL. Well, I don't know that there's any problem with that. Hatching out your own is always cheaper than buying some, right? Clearwater Finches says, we Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving in October. Yeah. I didn't know you even did Thanksgiving there. Is it called Thanksgiving or is it something else? Because I mean, Thanksgiving, I believe, is like, isn't it like purely American? So Clearwater says, so living in Florida, I do both now. Call it the same thing, right? Thanksgiving. Is it? I'm kind of curious about that. Dawn says, have a great Thanksgiving. I think Canada has their Thanksgiving at a different time. Yeah, I guess so. And Clearwater says, turkey and everything. Interesting. I thought Thanksgiving was purely American because it was, it's like celebrating the foundation, founding of America, basically, the first, I don't know, all that, the backstory probably. All right, looks like it's about time to wrap this one up. Dawn says they copy us, LOL. Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, I guess, because next week is Thanksgiving. So everybody have a great holiday. And we'll talk to you guys in, like I said, 2 weeks. So until then, God bless. We'll see you guys. Take care.